When Emery was a child, her knees popped out of place when she ran too fast. As a teen, her ribs dislocated in her sleep. By 20, open in a jar could mean ice in her wrist for hours. Doctors said the tests were normal. Friends said, it's probably just stress. Even strangers offered advice. Try yoga. Drink more water. Maybe it's all in your head. But Emery knew her body wasn't just tired, it was betraying her, and no one was coming to save her. So one night, in the middle of a flare-up with pain burning down her spine and another specialist visit ending in shrugs, she opened her laptop, not to research, to build. She didn't have a lab, or a budget, or a degree in biomedical engineering, but she had something else. A body that gave her real-time data, and a mind that refused to be dismissed. They told her to rest. She learned to rewire. They told her to accept the pain. She turned it into a blueprint. Because when your body betrays you, you can break, or you can begin again. One brace, one circuit, one act of defiance at a time. Emery Blake was a kind of kid who made adults nervous, not because she was wild, but because she bruised too easily, fell too often, and limped when no one saw her get hurt. At 5, she was fitted for her first knee brace. At 7, she dislocated her shoulder reaching for a cereal box. And by 10, she had memorized the ER intake form by heart. They ran tests, checked her calcium levels, sent her home with bandages and a vague sense that she might be exaggerating. But she wasn't. Her joints weren't stable. Her skin tore easily. Her body healed slower than it broke. And though her spirit was sharp, her mind hungry, her world kept shrinking. Gym class became a hazard. Field trips were skipped. Friendships faded as pain became her most consistent companion. By middle school, she had a name for it: Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a genetic connective tissue disorder, rare, invisible, and incurable. But labels don't change how people look at you. In class, she was the fragile one. At parties, the girl with the wrist wraps and heating pads. Even some teachers whispered that maybe she just wanted attention. But Emery didn't want pity, she wanted possibility. She wanted to tap without her fingers locking up, to walk without bracing every step, to exist in her body without fearing it. She tried everything: physical therapy, medication, acupuncture, mobility aids. Some helped a little, most didn't, and none of it was designed for her. Not her size, not her range of motion, not her condition. By her early 20s, she dropped out of college twice, not because she couldn't keep up academically, but because lecture halls didn't come with pain relief. Doctors offered sympathy, but sympathy doesn't open jars. It doesn't get you through a flare-up at 3 a.m., and it definitely doesn't build a future. So one night, while lying flat on the floor after her hip popped out again, Emery stared at the ceiling and whispered, "If no one is going to build it for me, I'll do it myself." And that moment, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't triumphant, it was quiet, private, unseen, but it was the beginning of something the world had never seen before. It happened in the middle of a grocery store, just a jar of tomato sauce. She reached for it, and her shoulder dislocated again. It wasn't the pain that brought Emery to her knees. She was used to that. It was the look on the cashier's face, half pity, half confusion. Like he couldn't decide if she needed a doctor or directions to the nearest exit. She limped out with nothing but a receipt for things she couldn't carry. That night, alone in her apartment, wrapped in braces and wrapped in doubt, Emery stared at the medical gear scattered around her like debris: Velcro, ice packs, slings, heating pads. None of it made her feel human, just broken, managed, strapped down. And then her phone buzzed. A text from her little niece, Nora. Just 6 words. "Aunt Emery, are you Iron Woman?" Below it, a selfie of Nora wearing Emery's knee brace like a superhero boot. Emery laughed, then she cried, because that was the moment it clicked. She didn't want to be fixed, she wanted to be functional, not to erase the disorder, but to design around it, to turn fragility into feedback, pain into data, and maybe a body that betrayed her could still become a body she built on her terms. That night, for the first time in months, she opened her old sketchbook, and with a shaky hand and a stubborn fire in her chest, Emery began to draw. Not art, not therapy, but blueprints for something no one had seen before, a new kind of strength. Emery didn't have a lab. She had a kitchen table, a soldering iron, a drawer full of painkillers she wanted to replace with progress. By day, she worked remotely, voice dictation, replacing type-in, heat-in pads under her desk. By night, she became something else, a designer, an engineer, a biohacker of her own biology. Her first prototype was crude, a wrist brace made from recycled plastic and smart fabric. It tracked micro movements, recorded stress points, and when her tendons began to strain, it vibrated, a gentle whisper to her body: "Ease up, I've got you." It didn't go viral, it didn't win awards, but for the first time, Emery walked up a flight of stairs without second guessing each step, and that was everything. She kept going, redesigned her knee brace with magnetized stabilizers, built a shoulder harness that adapted in real time to her posture. No more one-size-fits-none. When her pain flared, her tech flared with her, not to silence her body, but to listen to it. She shared her progress online, not polished, not perfect, just honest videos. How I made a brace that doesn't hate my skin, or today I picked up a mug without dislocating my wrist. Here's why that matters. And people listened. Other zebras, as those with Ehlers-Danlos call themselves, started commenting, "Where did you get this? Can you show me how to make one? Can you make one for me?" That's when Emery realized this wasn't just survival, it was a system, a method, a blueprint for a body that adapts instead of collapses. Just as things started to grow, her body reminded her who was still in charge. During a live stream Q&A, Emery's shoulder dislocated mid-sentence. The pain jolted through her like lightning. The comments rolled in, some kind, some confused, some cruel. "You okay? Drama queen. Is this for real?" She ended the stream early, collapsed onto her couch, and cried, not just from the pain, but from the invisibility of it all. She thought she had built enough, but nothing she engineered could shield her from people who couldn't see her pain. That night, Emery almost quit, closed her laptop, thought of going back to the silence, the years when she just endured. But then her inbox lit up, a message from a 15-year-old girl in Wisconsin. "I have EDS too. Watching you made me feel less ashamed." A father in Brazil. "My daughter walks better now because of a brace I copied from your design, and one that stopped her cold. I was ready to give up. Then I saw you smile through a shoulder pop. It gave me hope." That was her turning point within the turning point, because victory wasn't in perfect prototypes or polished presentations. It was in showing up broken, anyway. So Emery turned the camera back on. This time, she showed everything: the flare days, the ER visits, the mess, and the miracles she made with 3D printers and Velcro. Months later, she was invited to speak at a biomedical design conference. She almost declined until she remembered the girl in Wisconsin. Emery wheeled onto that stage in custom braces she built herself, held up her latest creation, a modular wearable system, smart supports that adapt to hypermobility in real time. The audience didn't just clap, they stood, and for once, her body wasn't the punchline, it was the proof. Emery didn't just build for herself, she built for everyone who had ever been told, "You just need to tough it out. You don't look sick. Maybe it's all in your head." Her design started spreading, not through billion-dollar investors, but through message boards, disability forums, mothers printing braces from her open source files, teenagers remixing her blueprints to fit their own bodies. Hospitals called, universities asked for her lecture slides. A design student wrote, "Your work made me realize medicine isn't just about curing, it's about dignity." And then something even more unexpected happened. Able-bodied engineers began using her wearable system for stroke recovery. A robotics team adapted her joint brace to help stabilize prosthetics. And a military rehab center requested a version for injured veterans. The woman who once sat in a dark room wondering if her life would ever start was now helping thousands regain movement, autonomy, hope. And none of it came from a lab coat. It came from a kitchen table, a shaky hand holding a soldering iron, a body breaking, but not breaking her spirit. Let's hear from the voices who witnessed Emery's transformation and the lives she touched in ways no one expected. Dr. Meera Patel, rheumatologist. "I treated Emery when she could barely hold a pen. Now, her designs help my other patients write, cook, even dance again. She didn't just challenge medicine, she advanced it." Jasmine, age 17, living with POTS and EDS. "I used to hide my braces under baggy clothes, but Emery made them beautiful. Now I wear them like armor, like art." Miguel Alvarez, military veteran. "Her wrist support let me hold my daughter again, without pain. That might sound small, but it gave me my life back." Layla, childhood friend. "Back then I didn't know what she was going through, but even in pain, she was building. For herself, for us, for everyone who ever felt like their body was a cage." A note emailed anonymously. "Your blueprint helped me leave my house for the first time in months. I didn't think anyone understood, but you did." They used to see Emery as fragile. Now they see her as formidable, not because her body stopped breaking, but because she kept building anyway. Years later, in a light-filled studio that smells faintly of solder and lavender, Emery Blake doesn't wear a lab coat. She wears one of her own creations, a smart exosleeve that adapts to her movement in real time. Her workshop isn't quiet. It hums, with the soft clicks of 3D printers, the chatter of interns with invisible illnesses, and the rhythmic buzz of hope being assembled piece by piece. On the wall, there's no diploma, just a frame schematic of the first brace she built, scrawled in ink, coffee-stained, edges curled. Below it, a quote etched into aluminum: "If the body won't listen, build one that will." She doesn't chase perfection. She builds possibilities, tools that bend with the body instead of against it, designs that whisper, "You are not broken, just built differently." Her inventions are now used in rehabilitation centers, classrooms, even space training labs testing low-gravity mobility aids. But for Emery, the greatest success, seeing a child flex their fingers for the first time, not in pain but in play. She still has flare ups, still has days she can't get out of bed, but now, on those days, someone else gets up, wearing something she created. And that's a kind of healing the textbooks never covered. Emery used to think strength meant pushing through, smiling when it hurt, showing up even when her joints begged her not to. She thought silence was bravery, that asking for help was weakness, that needing support meant she was failing her body, when really her body had been failing her all along. But then she learned resilience isn't about denying pain, it's about designing with it. Her illness didn't disappear, her symptoms didn't magically vanish, but her relationship to them changed. She stopped trying to win the war against her body and started building peace with it instead. Because real strength isn't what people see on the good days, it's what you create on the bad ones. It's the softness that stays when the structure gives out. It's the grace to say, this hurts, and I'll still find a way to live inside it. And sometimes strength means rewriting the script, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's ever felt like a burden in their own skin. If Emery's story sparks something in you, don't let it dim. Share this with someone living in a body that doesn't play by the rules, someone who's been told, it's all in your head. Push through it. Stop being so sensitive. Share it with the ones who felt invisible in doctors' offices and invincible in their quiet determination. Leave a comment for the inventors hiding in hospital beds, for the warriors who cancel plans not because they're flaky, but because they're fighting every minute just to function. And if you believe in stories that redefine what strength looks like, if you believe that building a better world starts with listening to every kind of body, then subscribe to Able in every way. Because strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it hums beneath braces and bandages, beneath softness and stillness, beneath every heartbeat that whispers, I'm still here and I'm still building.